one of you mentioned earlier, like in the very beginning, about how slow it is and how it takes forever for anything to happen. And I actually disagree with that. So I have this thing about horror movies where I basically go do chores for the first half hour and then come back when stuff starts happening. Because most horror movies, especially the not very good ones, have this first half hour when literally nothing happens. We're just showing characters doing mundane things, and we're kind of introducing their relationships and so on, so that we know who they are when they start dying. The bad ones don't do anything else in their time. And this one is different. Like Michael escapes in the first few minutes, and then he begins stalking people, and he starts closing in on people, and they start seeing him across the street or behind a hedge and so on. It keeps getting closer and closer, basically from minute 3. It starts building up this tension and this sense of dread and this, like, I don't know if either of you have ever had this sensation that, like, you're out in public somewhere and you're just walking down the street and you get the feeling that somebody's following you or somebody's watching you. And you can't prove or disprove it in the moment, but it's kind of just a feeling. And it might be nothing, right? It might just be a strange vibe you get from somebody who's walking behind you or something. But like this whole idea of somebody's watching, like that's something I think that people can relate to.
And I understand, and I like agree that was what they was doing. But the point I made was the build up towards the third kill, because everything before that was good. So like I do agree, like a lot was happening where he broke out of prison and just, you know, so a lot was happening in the beginning, but it was just the build up to the first kill. For me, it just felt a bit long, and I think it was like that's the part I kind of felt like homework to me. It's not that I wanted to see more kills. No. It just I think there was a contributions of many things. Because for example, like sometimes with the dialogue scenes, right, it felt like I was watching old TV. I think a mixture of that and then that long build up is not really a good mix for me as a viewer. So that's why I felt like a build up towards that was a bit long. But I could see, obviously I get what they were doing. It was definitely like kind of like seeing just that's like a point that I was gonna make as well. It was like obviously the theme of stalking, how it's presented. It's like you're actually seeing stalking from a psychopath's perspective, which was good. But it just, like I said, just to that whole build up to the third kill, just for me was a bit long.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, so I had the same reaction the first time I saw it. So we're halfway in. How come nobody's died yet, right? And I actually think that is kind of a mistaken assumption about slasher movies. Or maybe if you started watching them in the 2000s or later, it's kind of how they've maybe become, or maybe the first ones you see are kind of like that. But the second and third time I watched this one, every time I watched it, I start enjoying it a little bit more, because first of all, now I know what's going to happen, right? I'm not waiting for it to get good. I can kind of start to appreciate what the movie is doing, even though there's no killing yet, right? But I do actually think, like, if you put this movie side by side with other movies like this, the bad ones actually don't do anything at all, right? They literally just have people talking about their relationships or being annoying to each other or something. But there's nothing really happening. And I think in this one, there's always something happening. And I think that is why it works. Like, if it happened to not work for you, that's obviously a different story. But I think objectively, the movie is doing something in that first half hour, first 40 minutes or so. Whether it's interesting or not is a different story. But like, there is actually stuff happening. We learn things about Michael. We learn things about those characters. We start, like, the stalking itself begins somewhere in the first 10 minutes, and it gradually escalates step by step. I think a lot happens even before the first kill happens, because like the kill itself is kind of the conclusion of it. It's not the actual thing itself.